You're well within the third hour of Good Morning Kenya. Welcome to this segment. My name is Mike Migwe. This is The Viewpoint, and we get into yet another conversation regarding we just want to unpack the human cost of land disputes and evictions. What is that cost, given that we had recent evictions in Ngong Forest, and does it bring forth issues to do with historical issues surrounding land rights, evictions, and what are the rights of evictees? What does the law say about them? And in studio, I'm joined by Nashon Okoa, who is the director, Beacon Africa Consultants, and also the immediate former chair, Association of Construction Managers of Kenya. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mike.
How are you doing this morning?
Well, it's a beautiful morning, we thank God.
Yes.
A lot of things going on, but we are healthy, we are alive. Indeed. We're grateful.
Indeed.
Yes.
Now, when we talk about human cost of land disputes and eviction, what is the real cost of this, especially within Kenya?
I think it's historical. A big part of evictions is quite historical. Yeah. If you look at that perspective, if you look at, for example, the coastal areas, there's a lot of land issues that are quite historical. You have a lot of squatters in those land areas. One of the key reasons is because I think after independence, there are a lot of issues that we never addressed as a country. So you'll find there's a few individuals hold large chunks of land, and you find majority of people are still squattering. So I would say a major part of our land disputes, you saw the Narok issue, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago. A few people unfortunately got killed. A big part of our land disputes, especially on these eviction areas, is historical. But also, I think urbanization is playing a role. If you look at the town areas, because we have one of the highest urbanization rate in the continent. Yes. I think at about 4.3%. Yes. And we are urbanizing at a rate that is not commensurate to our developments. So you'll find a lot of people are coming to the major cities. They don't have nowhere to stay, so they begin to go into empty lands, empty in quotes, and then over time the owners come into eviction issues. Yes.
There's also the issue of where that sometimes you get people who have lived in a certain area, they have even title deeds, but then again the land is grabbed. Then all of a sudden they have to be evicted. So that begs the question, what are the rights of any person who is getting evicted from a certain parcel of land?
I think the rights of evictees are basically the rights prescribed in our constitution. And most of the times, even those that have court orders, you realize the court spells out what needs to happen. Yeah. Most of the times you'll find there are notices to be given, supposed to give an ample time to leave those pieces of land. But sometimes, unfortunately, sometimes you'll find the notice was given, because as Kenyans, we rarely admit there was a notice given on evictions. Yeah. So that's also a major problem. But we find notices are served. At some instances, we've seen unfortunate incidences where notices are very short. Someone has lived somewhere for 5 years. You're giving them 1 month to leave. I mean, there needs to be really ample time. I think it needs to be done in a humane way. It's one of the most criticism of last year when you had the issues of Minister of Chile doing demolitions around Nairobi River. One of the big issues was the manner in which they were carried out. I think it needs to be done humanely. The rights of properties, the rights of people to probably remove their things from houses needs to be well protected, so that we do it with dignity. We give these people some dignity of evicting them. Major issue in our past evictions, talk about the Ruiru demolitions, evictions, it's done in a really humane way. There are the river houses, people are wailing while their houses are being demolished. That is one of the major issues that, for me, we've lost the human side of how we do our evictions. Of course, there are rights, and most of the time they're spelled out in even court orders that give these people the right to evict. But the humanity part of it, I don't think the courts can go as far as prescribing our humanity. We've lost the humanity part of it. Probably I'd be given 1 month to evict you, but I can still extend 2 months to you, so that it is 3 months in total because of my humanity. We've lost that part of that side of our evictions.
So that is mostly on how, say, that court order is implemented.
Yes.
Now, prior to 2010 Constitution, Kenya didn't have such strong guidelines on how people could be evicted from parcels of land. But post 2010 Constitution, and now talking about Land Laws Amendment Act of 2016, do you think it has had any impact in terms of how evictions are carried out in the country?
Look, I think it does. And Mike, one of our major issues as a country, I don't think it's always our lack of regulations and laws that prescribe these things. We have some of the elaborate land laws. For me, is implementation of these laws. There's a lot that is spelled out in the Revised Lands Act. But a lot of the times it's around a lot of animosity around evictions. Because no one does evictions for smiling, unfortunately. Evictions are done when there's a lot of acrimony, probably a very protracted legal battle has happened, swords have been drawn. So at the point of you get the order, you realize there's a rush, because again, people have this issue of you're going to appeal, stop it before I evict you, so I want to evict you as soon as possible before you get an injunction, go to appeal and all those things. So I want to get you, by the time you go to the next step of appeal, you're out. So there's always this constant rush that even supersedes what presently is provided for humanly under these orders and acts.
Is it that, why does it seem that poor communities are more susceptible to evictions?
I think it's obvious. I think it's because they don't have, as I said, a lot of the poor communities have the land injustice challenge. If you look at it historically, a lot of our poor communities do not own pieces of land. The top tier of our society own the big chunk. So you'll find most of the poor communities are the squatters. They're the people that will squat on pieces of land. Even in the city, you don't hear demolitions in Lavington. You hear them in the slum areas, in the poor neighborhoods of our city, and even in our villages. It's really the poor, because on that level there's the poor. So, and it's because, as I said, it's historical. We've not addressed the issue of we have 50 million Kenyans, and everyone needs to have a piece of this land called Kenya. So there are people that really have so much, and there are people that really do not have. Now, we are growing. We are a third world country that is really as one of the highest population growth rates. So our population is increasing. It means we are putting pressure on every resource, including land. So when a family that's grown to 5, they need somewhere to build. And if you bring in the issue of culture, so I have 5 sons, they also need to build their homes. Where are they going to build? So you'll begin to have the squatter entering lands that are empty, because you also want to fulfill some of these cultural issues. And at that level, the eviction should come. So for me, the poor will continue to face it, because we will not address the issue of the really vulnerable society having a piece of this cake called land.
Then from that perspective now, and looking at land reforms within the country, can we say it's driven by justice, conservation, or just profit?
Largely, it's self-interest. It's one of our biggest issues. Of a lot of our legislations are reforms. Legislations are driven towards some interest, some self-serving interest. There are instances where there's been a lot of there's been push to have legislations that are really public geared, but most of the times, I mean, history is replete with examples in our country where we pushed agendas, reforms, and all those things. When you want to reform the IBC, I mean, there's always agendas around who needs to take the cake and what, all those things. But look, we are not where we used to be. The truth is, our land reform systems has grown. We have issues of Al Disasa. So there's an attempt to also just better the system and the process. But the truth is a lot still needs to be done. And for me, it needs to be done around the most vulnerable of society. So how do we begin to cushion them against these evictions? Because in my view, if we don't address it, evictions are going to augment. Because, as I said, we are growing. We're putting pressure on a lot of our resources, including land, because our population is really growing at a fast rate.
Yeah.
And we are urbanizing at a very fast rate. So we need to have a system of how do we cushion the people coming to the city that can't afford any structure and need support, and the vulnerable in our communities that really require land. Yes.
You know, we talk about these things, but then again, this is a recurring problem. Why do we still have it, yet there are legal safeguards?
Well, Mike, we have a lot of legal safeguards on really everything in this country, but we disregard them. I mean, over the last week we have debated the whole country about the unfortunate death of Mr. Albert. There's a very elaborate system of how someone needs to be treated when they're arrested. Did you follow it? We don't. We disregard every single beautiful legislations, acts that are prescribed. We don't care about them. So yes, there are acts, there are regulations, policies around how evictions needs to happen. The thing is, we don't follow them. We are a country that we really see some of these things as inconveniences. Especially if you're the top tier, it's a real inconvenience. So you fight as much as possible to remove the inconvenience. And that is why they're still reoccurring. So personally, I think we need to have some very radical thoughts around it. Because as I said, if we don't address it, and I do not think the issue is the law, I think the issue is the implementations of it. So if you don't have people that have the emotional fortitude to begin seeing, Mike, you're going to evict these people. If you don't follow the law, we're going to charge you. Then inhumane evictions we've seen, what happened? Nothing. People have been clobbered, people have been evicted at night. Who has been taken to court to be told, look, you had an order, you didn't follow the order. Or you evicted people inhumanely. As long as there's no one taking responsibility, these things are going to continue recurring. And at a regular rate, because we are growing, population is growing, we are not going to expand our boundaries in terms of land, and most of us want to come to the cities.
You know, all this points to human dignity, but then again, in the face of law, can eviction be legal but unjust?
I think so. You know, there's legality and morality, and I think morality borders on injustice, in my view. There's what can be legal, but it's not moral. As I said, one of the things we've lost as a people is our humanity. So, yes, I've gotten an order of evict people within 1 month, give 1 month notice. But how do I carry it within the societal morals? Because if you step back historically, there were a lot of guidelines on how humans, how we lived as a people, as a community. And there's a lot of societal pressure on you conform to certain aspects of humanity. We lived as a society. I think we lost a big part of that. Because even in the absence of, let's say, a regulation of how eviction needs to happen, I think the basic human decency of how it needs to happen is something we should be all inborn with. We need to be born and bred with the human care of the person has lived here for 5 years. The most decent thing to do and just thing to do is give them 5 months, 6 months, and then they begin to live. But we want to do it at night. I have an order today. I want to do it at night. You leave tomorrow. I don't care what happened to your things. So what law is going to prescribe that? I think that is a key component of how permissive society has been and how we have a lot of moral decay today in our society. It plays a part. Well, that cannot be prescribed in law, but it's one of the reasons why we are seeing these inhumane evictions that you can't watch twice on television. Yeah.
Even as we talk about that, there's an aspect of balancing conservation, human rights, and the aspect of development, because we are a growing country. How do we strike a balance in all the three?
I think we need to zone. We need to properly zone our major cities. It's one of the big issues we've been pushing in Nairobi County as well. Because outside Nairobi County, there's no, all the major counties, at least Nairobi County is a semblance of zoning.
Yes.
Okay, it's outdated, but it's probably the only county that's a semblance of zoning. You see, once we zone our country, so we know where does human development stop, where are our parks, where are our forests? Because if you do not have a zoning, a prescribed zoning regulations, for example, Nairobi City, you'll find the issues of Ngong encroachments is coming up, okay? Because there is no proper zoning regulations. The one we have in Nairobi, I think, it's the colonial one. It will tell you that clear ratio is still ground plus 3. But when you zone a city, zone the metros of Nairobi properly, we define our forests, and this zoning should be carried out not in boardrooms, not in the county assembly only. The whole metro participate in the zoning. So we define where are our forests, okay? Where are our play areas? Which areas do we want to conserve? Which areas do we want to develop? Where are our rivers? Where are our water aquifers? And every single county begin to do this conscious zoning of all counties. And it's done in particular with the county residents. So that once we do that, then it's a very clear, elaborate. No one should step on our parks. No one should encroach our forests. And these forests are very marked for people to know because we've been part of it. It is lacking. And I say population is growing, we are urbanizing, and we are urbanizing in the absence of a clearly defined cities and towns. It's a major problem. So people, because there's population pressure and urbanization pressure, the only lands available becomes the parks, the forests, and all these things. So there's that pressure to push this population into these areas until we zone consciously. And I mean zoning together with the residents. Because there's been attempts where residents were left out and court stops those kind of things. Let us zone together with each county, do it consciously with the residents. I've always said, if we need to get the best minds, if we don't have them here, I think we do, but in case we don't have them, bring in the best minds to help us zone our major towns, our counties. Then we begin to clearly define where does human settlement needs to end, and we look at it in terms of future expansions, future growth, future urbanization pressure, what can we allow, where are our forests, where are our play areas. We'll have a beautiful country.
How do we sensitize people now to these aspects, to know how to go about it? Who makes the first move?
No, I do not think that the people we have at the helm of our counties do not know this. I think it is self-serving to have the chaos. Honestly, I think it's self-serving to. We go outside this country to developed countries, and you'll hear leaders say, wow, beautiful cities, organized. I mean, they see them every day. It's not that they're not aware of what it takes to organize a city. But what the chaos we have, it's self-serving, because then it's a bloodline of where I need to develop. So when it's a bloodline of where human settlement needs to stop, then it brings some self-interest to people.
Yes.
But I do not think that the people we have at the helm of our counties, for instance, are not aware of the benefit of zoning. What I think we need to do, the first step for me, is as a people, as residents, and we say this in Nairobi, we need to push pressure on our leaders that will require 21st century zoning regulations. That is in tandem with the population, in tandem with the 21st century complexities of cities, in tandem with what we are facing. We faced floods last year.
Yes.
A lot of it. And we forgot about it. We're waiting for the next floods. What have we done over the last 1 year to mitigate the flood effects? Nothing. In fact, for me, I think we have worsened. So unless we put pressure as a people and residents of this country to demand that we need to zone, I don't think it's going to happen, because the chaos is not by chance. The chaos is very deliberate.
Is zoning the way out?
For major cities, number 1, 2, 3, for what we are facing, number 1 is zoning, number 2 is zoning, number 3 is zoning.
What about in the rural areas?
Even rural. Because if you look at, as I said, if even the towns where you come from, okay? Look at the towns where you come from. There is a lot of pressure even to cut land into pieces and sell. We're not going even for bad.
Towns are popping up.
Exactly. And we're cutting them into small pieces.
Yeah.
When you zone areas, then you begin to say, this area, you can only sell land in 2 acres. okay? As long as you live in that area, this is 2-acre land. We had some issues when Governor Kabogo came in Kiambu, because I think when he came, he stopped the 8th and 16th subdivision of land, okay? And it was a big problem. But you see, it was abrupt. And when he left, we went back to cutting all the coffee plantations into 8th and 16th, okay? So it points to lack of clear regulations that any governor that comes in, you know very well, if I come from a rural area, this is a coffee area, you can only sell land in 10 acres. Zoning for me is the center of it. If you don't have a clear policy, even in areas of this is our agriculture, because I see a point when we were going to cut all our pieces of land to quarters, or eighths, even deep in the villages, because if you look at our towns, and we're a third world country, there's pressure for towns to grow. And with the advent of counties, a lot of resources, we're getting a lot of county townships, and World Bank putting a lot of money in townships. Where I come from, this town is now a township with a county manager, and there's that pressure to cut land into small pieces and sell. Zoning will help us so that we zone these areas you can do that, these areas you cannot do that. This is our area of farming. You can't sell land below 10 acres and below. We don't have those kind of things. And if you don't have those kind of things, you're going to have problems.
And all that has to come from a point of knowledge. People have to be sensitized about it.
And that's why I said when you begin a debate, for example, in Nairobi, let's say we begin a debate on you want to zone the city. You want to make it 2025 new zoning regulations. The city will participate. Every part, and we take our time. No, there's always a hurry in public participation. We're so much in a hurry. Let us go around and ask people, what do we want to do with the city? Do we want people to enter Uhuru Park, for example? Where are our parks? Because there's pressure on our parks now and our forests. How long are we going to fight these things? Okay? Can we, for example, I've always said, can we start expanding on how far should Nairobi go outside?
Exactly.
Because if we don't define Nairobi to go outside, these forests are under threat. As I said, the continent itself, I think the World Bank says the African cities are receiving 40,000 people every day. We are 4.4. It's one of the highest urbanization rates in the continent. A lot of people are coming to the city every single year. We don't have a plan of how we're going to house them. With time, with the pressure, we'll find them building in Karura. I'm telling you. And there'll be so many that nothing to do about it. But if we start thinking about it now and have that conversation with residents of the city, how do we expand? Where do we go? Can we go, the president I mentioned going 75 floors at some point. It probably could be a way at some point that we need to go so high, but can we change it? How high should we go? 50 floors, 70 floors? And we zone areas where this area now you can go 70 floors. So begin to take care of people that are coming into the city. Otherwise, we're going to start having people still going to the areas they're supposed to go, and eviction will come in. But right now, we don't have that defined. What is upper hill height? Is it 40 floors? Is it 50? Because we need to go, countries have gone that vertical so that you handle the pressure that is coming in. We don't have that kind of thought. It's in the minds of a few people, and they decide when you apply. But when you zone it properly, we begin to take care of this issue. Because the main issue of evictions, for example, in the cities and major areas of towns, is because people are coming in and they don't have a place to stay.
So we still have a chance to course correct. Speaking of what you're saying about zoning, going vertical, we still have that chance to course correct. I
think we do. I think I personally had said that 2022 we really needed a built environment governor, and it's because of these issues. Someone with a conscious mind of our built environment. Because if you're a student of this sector and if you're a student of how we are urbanizing, then you know very well our infrastructure is at a risk. And that's why we're having these unprecedented floods, traffic jams in areas that could not be thought of having traffic jams, water rationing and sewer burst in sub-prime areas of this city. It's pointing you towards, telling you that there's a real pressure on our infrastructure and our resources. Now, it's not late yet, okay? It's not late. We are running out of time, but it's not late. We need to course correct as soon as possible. Probably before the next election. Let's have conversations of how do we handle this pressure? Because the thing is, as the sun will rise today and end, there are a number of people that have come to Nairobi for the first time. Today. There will be. And tomorrow. The rate does not care whether you have someone who does not think about these things. People are still coming to the urban areas, and people are still putting pressure on not just urban areas like Nairobi. Every single town is having pressure.
Yes.
So we need to have consciously people who can start thinking about this area. And look, you ask me where it starts. It's leadership. It's at the top. Okay? We in this sector will continue pointing them and say, look, this is coming, this is coming. But we don't have the resources to start the conversation. It has to start at the top. For example, the governor of who sits at City Hall. Can we have that conversation of how do we deal with this? And then bring experts in, bring residents in. Then we have a plan where, look, guys, this is agreeable for us. This is how we're going to move going forward.
When it comes to evictions, we've seen evictions in Mau, in Gong Forest, and even in informal settlements within cities. But in terms of how we handle them, where have we fallen short? Do we really give them the right support, or we just do it to get them out of the way?
I think in most instances, the ones I have witnessed, it's a question of, as long as they get you out of the gate, how you move from there onwards, it's your business. Look at the river evictions.
Yes.
I think it was one of the most inhumane as well. I don't think there's that support, and probably it's a conversation we need to have. What really needs to happen when we are evicting? Okay? And once we have experienced one, I think we need to have robust discussions around it. It's the same thing like what we did in the Mombasa demolitions. The house, remember the building in Mombasa?
Yes.
You know, I think that point, we've not clearly thought through of a procedure of demolishing a building. But with that now, I think also we need to have a procedure of how we need to demolish. Same as evictions.
Yes.
Do we compensate? Who can be compensated? Okay. Then how long? Is it 1 year, 2 years? What support? Can Red Cross get involved? How? Okay. What follow-up do we need? Who is capable of being reimbursed, for instance? How do you treat the children? Because there are very innocent lives there. How they handled? Do we give some support for the based on number of children? So yes, I still think there is that discussion we need to have. But I know primarily one of the main issues of evictions is we are always in a hurry.
Yes.
We are always in a hurry, and mostly because we fear the next injunction coming in.
When it comes to title deeds, issuing title deeds in informal settlement, would that be a priority, and would it really deal with the aspect of forced evictions and ensure that people live without fear of being told to come, leave, and go wherever?
You see, Mike, in serious democracies, the debate on the legality or illegality of anything will cease with a signature of a government official. In serious countries,
yes.
When you see a signature of a government official, you know the debate on that land, whatever it is, the debate on that document's legality or illegality ceases. It's not in our country. It's not in our country.
Yes.
And that is one of our major issues. That even when I see a title with a government official signature, the debates of that title's legality and illegality will still continue.
Yes.
And I do not think the obvious solution is title. It's one of the solutions because we have learned that people have a lot of titles. I'm always reminded that there's someone who has title of JKA Runway. Okay? Okay? So there are a lot of titles in this land.
You can decide to reclaim the land.
Yeah, you can decide to reclaim the land. There are a lot of titles in this land. For me, on the issues of evictions, I think nature is speaking to us. Nature is whispering. Actually, on major cities, nature is whispering to us that we need to have a conscious decision of how do we handle people coming in.
Yes.
It doesn't matter if we do not have a plan of handling people who are coming into this city because we are growing. Even your land that you empty somewhere, people will go and build on it with that title. They will go build on it because they have come to the city and they want somewhere to stay.
Yeah.
So they will build on it. So the issue is not the title. The issue is, if you look at the cause and effect, What is causing evictions? For me, we should address the causes of evictions. What is causing evictions? Why are people building along riparian reserves, along rivers? It's because there's nowhere else we want to build. Have we thought through that there are a lot of people still coming every single day, and whether you demolish like we did last year, if you go check, they've started building. Because there's nowhere else to build. So can we address the causes? And one of the causes is we need to have a plan of how we're going to, either we stop people from coming to the city, put roadblocks all over, which is not possible. But as long as you're going to have people coming into these towns, as long as you're going to have people in the villages who are growing culturally and need to have families that also need to build, we're going to have pressure on people entering other people's lands and building on them.
Yes. Do we need policy enhancement to ensure that there is easy access to land, whether you want to buy a piece of land?
I think so. I think, as I said, I think it's one of the debates we need to robustly have, because there's large chunks of land across this country that has been handled since I was born. Okay? And you have some people in the rural areas that lives like they're in the dire need of slums. Is it something that in 25 years in this century we want to have as a country? I don't think so. So either the government begins to buy part of these pieces of land deliberately and give it to the most vulnerable. I think that would be the most ideal. So can we buy part of this piece? So say I have 10,000 acres. Can government take 1,000, not force, but purchase, and then begin to give it to people? That is what is going to work for us, so that we address the most vulnerable of our society. For me, I think it's just a time bomb. And I don't know how long we're going to have these running battles of people fighting that we've lived here for 20 years and you can't evict us.
Thank you so much for making time to come and talk about this very emotive issue. When it comes to land and eviction, it's a very emotive issue. Thank you for making time. That is Nation Okowa, who is a director, Beacon Africa Consultants, and also immediate former chair, Association of Construction Managers of Kenya. This is where we wrap this conversation. Thank you for tuning in. This has been Good Morning Kenya. My name is Mike Migwe.